Recording.
All right, we're out here on the Supermoto on my Yamaha YZ400f. Wink, wink. Supermoto. It's really a 444 big bore. And I've got a wide ratio transmission in it. It's got an electron carburetor on it. And I just put some racing Supermoto slicks on it this week. And I'm just doing my test ride and kind of tire break in, kind of a rundown to get it ready to go to the track this week. And what I'm running are the Metzler racetech SM tires. And these things are the magic. These are just magic tires. And what I've got is the K2 in the rear and the K1 in the front. That's kind of telling about the softness of the compound of the tire. That's basically what we're saying here. And I've also installed some new brake pads on the front. Woo-hoo, they work. They work. I couldn't believe how much they cost if you were to get OEM Yamaha OEM Brembo or the Brembo pads. It was like $200 for these things. And this is a 4-piston caliper, but for crying out loud, it was a pad for every piston. But luckily I was able to get the 4HH EBC. Yeah, EBC brake pads. I'm pretty happy with them. They'll definitely, I mean, I'll if I think of it, I probably would have already put a picture of the pads that were in there, and that's a shame on me. It's just I haven't had the front wheel off in which to examine it because I'd been running a street tire, and it just did not do this bike the justice. These tires, well, let's back up. I was running the Continental Attack SM Evo tires, and I finally just absolutely wore my front tire down, and the rear was just as far gone almost. And they're good tires, but what I've noticed about them is that their sidewall just are not as comparable. They're not comparable to what I had on this thing when I first got it. And I'm thinking also that, you know, I'm looking at my tire experience, the reason why people run those Michelin Pilot I think they're the RS2, the Pilot Power. I'll have to get back to you on that, but their sidewall is just incredibly soft, or pliable. We'll just say pliable. And these tires are just about the same way. Even when they were relatively cool, I could just almost had some trouble installing these tires. I'm gonna be honest with you. Just checking on things real quick because they just wanted to flex over, but they went on without too much trouble. But this bike is, I'm just checking my rear brakes. Woo! Front brakes are dum good. They're just crazy good. Wow. Now I'm running. I also had a failure on this bike, and I don't know if I've said anything about it on this channel. Back in the days of the YZ400f, you had the manual decompression. You had manual decompression on to be able to start it. So you had to push it past top dead center by pulling in the decompression mechanism, allowing it forces the exhaust valve open just a little bit so you can get past that point. They release it and it's just like normal. Then you'd have to push it through the rest of the strokes and hopefully you get enough momentum in which to get it to kick over. And what people did was, after the YZ450s came out, they had a 4-speed transmission, which is awful, but they had a very powerful engine, I will say that too. But back on track, they had an auto decompression on the exhaust cam. And so what you would do is you'd put a YZ450 cam in these and block off the manual decompression arm, or just leave it in place and not use it. So I had that in place with a factory intake cam, and unfortunately my intake cam bearing failed. So I had to go through and flush this a few times and make sure that my oil was clean. But it happened all of a sudden at the very end of the season, and I think I'm okay at this point. But I absolutely had a failure in those bearings, and I was having a hard time even with the FCR carburetor on getting the engine to idle. But fortunately for me, I have some stage 1 hot cams that are in this bike right now. So stage 1 hot cams are what I'm running right now. They didn't make a stage 2 hot cams, and when they came up with these stage 1, well, I think they did have stage 2 at one point, but they just don't have them anymore. When they had them, when they came out with them, they came out with an auto decompression system on them. So there's our education for that point. And that ran through it's the same parts really for the YZ400f, which is 98.99, the WR400f, 98.99, and also the comparable YZ426, 2000 through 2002, and the comparable WR models. And the WR was also kickstart only. So the WR450 came out in 03, if I'm not mistaken. And it was, if I'm not mistaken, also a 5-speed, but the wide ratio transmission, which also had the weakness of the 5th gear that this bike has, or this transmission that I was using has, but I've rebuilt this transmission. So we're in second now. Let's see if this bike wants to pull a wheelie. I haven't really tried in a while. I can tell that I don't have that accelerator pump, and I have a very, very rigid suspension. I have a very rigid suspension in this. You have to kind of ask this one a little bit more because you don't have that suspension to really help you. But these engines definitely, they wind out. They wind out better. This isn't really a wheelie bike, to be honest with you. So I'm making a lot of noise out here. So let me see if I can just focus more on running these tires in. Oh, by the way, I'm running a 15 up front and a 42 A 1542 final drive on this. If that makes any difference to you. This thing goes, it'll go about 100 miles an hour or so. Oh, more about these tires. Good grief, I squirreled on this one. Sorry about that. So these Metzlers are a 125/75 in the front. And they also come in a 16.5-inch front wheel, which is not what I have. I have a 17-inch. And they come with a 165/55/17 rear. Whew. Yeah, these brakes are definitely back up to snuff. So that's first gear. Let's see here. That's plenty. Okay, so let's see what we can do. I want to wear up my welcome. So I just wanted to share that break-in process. This thing's definitely lighter than the DRZ. Idle's just a skosh high. But yeah, let's see here. Yeah, I've got all sorts of clearance. I've got all sorts of clearance with my chain on these because of the way these tires are profiled. Because that edge rolls over with that profile being a 65, and just how these are designed. So anyway, I just wanted to share that, and I hope that wasn't too boring. Thanks for watching, and I think we'll see you next time.